Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries about channel and partnerships on a weekly basis. My name is Effa, and I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Jason. Jason, how are you doing?
Yeah, good morning, F. Nice to meet you, and hey, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining the podcast. Jason, for those who may not know who you are, could you give us an introduction? Tell us who you are, where you come from.
Certainly. Yeah. So my name is Jason Myers. I'm a cybersecurity strategist for MSP Partnerships at OpenText. Been with the company about a year and a half. Prior to that, I was chief product officer for a threat detection and response startup, an online platform, but pretty much been in like cybersecurity, technology, engineering for a few decades now. I say since the late 1900s. So I've been at it a while.
Well, thanks for joining the show once again. Jason, you've been a veteran in the MSP space. You work with a lot of MSPs, and I kind of want to talk about the transition that we're seeing in the space. And I want to start by quoting you. So you said 20 years ago, MSPs provided basic break-fix solutions and system integration services. And then we moved to MSP 2.0 era where they offer traditional managed IT services and support. But now we're moving into the MSP 3.0 era. Could you elaborate a little bit about what do you mean by MSP 3.0? What is different in this generation?
Yeah, I've heard some people call it MSP 3.0. I've heard other people say we've jumped right from MSP 3.0 to MSP 5.0. But the term from Joe Rojas from Buy Build Sell, I kind of steal this from him. The term he's using now, he's saying that the term MSP is going to go away altogether, and we're gonna start calling it a BSP, a business solutions provider, right? Because MSP 2.0, that's the SaaS era. You're selling seats to software, which was great because you knew where the margin was coming from. You had a steady income each month, but we all know that's shrinking now, right? And so where the revenue is going to come for MSPs in the future, being that MSP 3.0, I guess, if you will be from managed services, being a solutions consultant and showing their MSPs showing their customers how they can solve real business problems.
So we've been talking about this a lot because also I think like at TechState, they started calling it MIP. I think like managed
I
intelligence
heard
provider.
MIP
And I
too.
think
Yes.
that it's, we're seeing that, I think the rise of AI is really shifting things. And how do you think, for all the MSPs listening to the podcast right now, what should they be really thinking about? What should they look at to really transform their business?
Well, obviously you can use AI within your own business as an MSP, right? To, eliminate repetitive tasks, streamline your business, get economies of scale there. But I think where the real margin is going to come from is being able to go to your customers, find out what their business pain points are, and showing them how they can use AI and even build agents to solve those problems. That's where the money is going to be next year.
I feel like a lot of MSPs, I think everyone in the space understands the potential of AI. They understand the importance of it. But I also saw that there's the OpenText survey that found that 92% of MSPs see it as a growth driver, but nearly half of them are not confident in deploying it securely. I guess we have to do a lot of, there's a lot of training to be done. There's a skill gap that we see in the market right now. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you at OpenText are, helping partners bridge that gap.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And although 90% of 93% or whatever sees the value, there was a study that you probably saw that came out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology about 2 months ago that said that 95% of AI deployments are actually a failure. They don't deliver on what the promises of economies of scale and saving money and increasing profits and things like that. So that's kind of where we jump in. One of the big reasons for those failures is security, compliance, and governance. And that's a two-sided coin. On the one hand, you've got the end users and the customers who are afraid to deploy it for that reason. And then the ones that do and don't have their security, compliance, and governance set up correctly could end up getting breached or exposing, potentially sensitive information.
Yeah, I think it's both at the same time. There's a lot of opportunity, but as you said, that it fails oftentimes as well. And I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of risk involved as well. Do you also see maybe that there's a talent shortage, maybe not the right word, but there's a skill gap like in the market because, talking to vendors, distributors, partners from all sides, I hear that there's a lot of talent shortage in terms of like bringing these projects to life. Do you feel like that's something that you see in the market?
There can be, and a lot of MSPs, maybe they don't have that talent on hand. But one of the benefits of getting out there and going to events, and as we know, the MSP community is pretty tightly knit, right? And we like
Yeah.
to lift each other up. Go out there and find someone with that skill set, outsource it, right? There's such a demand for this right now. You can mark it up, make a great margin on it, and you don't have to do everything in house.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. That's one of the things that I always say about what I love about the MSP community is that I find it crazy sometimes that, your competitors, you go to these kind of events and, MSPs, they share all their secrets. They're so open about it. And I guess like there's so much learning to be done in those communities, in those events. So also like my thing to say to everyone listening is that, just go out there. There's a lot of people who are already doing this kind of stuff and you can definitely learn from each other. I think that community is the most amazing thing when it comes to MSPs.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big pie, right? I just came back last week. We did a big peer group in Savannah, Georgia. So a lot of our top MSPs got together in one place, and they did exactly that. They're there sharing their secrets, their tricks of the trade, how they do this, how they do that. Like you say, a rising tide, it lifts all ships, right?
Mhm.
So, and like I said, there's enough of the pie out there for everybody. It's a huge market.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's kind of different when you're selling to enterprise and selling to SMBs. I feel like there are different priorities. And then the one thing that I saw is that in my research that I think one of the most important things for SMBs is that simplicity is really important. It's one of the most important buying priorities. How I feel like we sometimes overcomplicate it too much with messaging with the tools. But at the end of the day, it kind of has to be simple enough that the partners can have those conversations with customers to just very tangibly kind of explain how it's really going to solve their business problems. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit about like how you at OpenText, how are you having those conversations with MSPs? How are you, helping them, enabling them to their real outcomes? What kind of maybe the tooling, the strategy behind it? I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think one of the themes of next year, I think what you're going to hear a lot of is going to be automation and integration, right? AI was kind of the hot button topic this year. That's going to continue, and maybe you will be using AI to integrate and to streamline things. But an MSP in an ideal world, they would want to push one button and onboard a user and kick back, and everything's good to go, right? So we're taking steps in that direction. At OpenText, we've got our secure cloud platform where we sell not only all of our IP, but
Yes.
Microsoft as well. We are, I think, the fifth largest in the world Microsoft solutions provider right now. We are the first, with the AppRiver acquisition, AppRiver,
Mhm.
first Microsoft CSP. So we're doing a lot in terms of integrations and, playing nice with all the other tools that are out there. You know, 10 years ago, you saw a lot of that. A lot of the vendors played nice together. They integrated well together. And then you kind of saw this shift where, hey, get your whole entire stack from us.
Mhm.
And we've got our walled garden kind of closed off, right? And I think you're seeing some pushback from the MSP community now that no, they want that again. They want the vendors to play nice together.
Yeah.
With OpenText, we say open ecosystem now because we
Mhm.
really do integrate with just about everything out there.
Yeah, and that's like one of the most important things. I guess like I also seen this shift happening, a lot of vendors trying to, create a lot of tools, make sure that like they can deliver the whole stack, but I feel like it's not working best all the time. And the beauty of as someone talk about the app store, when you think about it, it's kind of like brings all those different experts,
Mhm.
together. And I guess the partner's responsibility also to make sure that, everything works smoothly together. And then ultimately the goal is to provide a solution to a customer that really solves their problems.
Right.
Um, and I know that OpenText is Microsoft top CSPs. Everyone knows that, but maybe you can talk to me about how does that relationship, that close relationship with Microsoft, also giving your MSPs an edge in the space?
Yeah, well, first of all, one of the points with that, there's really two things. The first, we've got a lady, Liz, on our team. She's a Microsoft consultant that knows Microsoft licensings, incentives, and rebates inside and out, right? And I've been on dozens of calls with Liz, and every single time I've seen her save the MSP money, right? There's always money being left on the table. But I think probably our biggest proposition there is you never have to talk to Microsoft again. We solve
Mhm.
98.7% of first calls in-house, and the other 2.2%, we've got a dedicated team at Microsoft that'll take care of it for us. So we kind of offload having to deal with
Mhm.
Microsoft, take care of it for the MSP.
You said that you see that there's a lot of money being left on the table. On what do you see are the like biggest opportunities? Where do you see a lot of money being left on the table?
There, I'll be honest with you. I feel like you need a PhD to understand
Yeah,
Microsoft licensing incentives and rebates.
super
One of the
complicated.
things with that is, it changes constantly.
Yeah.
That's why we've got a dedicated team. We've got former Microsoft employees that work for us to stay on top of that. Because a lot of partners, they're not going into their partner portal all the time like they should
Yeah.
be, spending a couple hours a month looking at it, seeing what they should do. So that's where we come in and help. A lot of times there's just a lot of incentives and rebates being left on the table. They've got a new point system now that I don't fully understand, but once you hit 25
Mhm.
points, you start getting more steeper discounts and things like that. So that's what we're here to do, is to help the MSP understand that and navigate it.
Yeah, we previously talked about the importance of simplicity for the customer, but there's also importance of simplicity for the partner as well because they're so overwhelmed. And I guess it's also another transition that I've been seeing in the space that like now a lot of vendors are looking at like how can we simplify our programs? How can we make it easy to work with us? And it's great that you're helping because it's so much to navigate, right? It's so
Yeah.
complex and it changes all the time, as you mentioned. So it's amazing to hear that you've been, working closely with partners to make sure that they can navigate that complicated space.
And you had mentioned before too, tool sprawl is a thing, right? And there's so many different tools out there. There's a lot of choices. But we recently did a study with Jay McBain over at
Yeah.
Canalys. And one of the interesting things that came out of that is that, yeah, tool sprawl is a thing, but actually the kind of the sweet spot for the number of vendors that an MSP wants to deal with is about 7 to 10.
Mhm.
So they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket, but 7 to 10 seems to be about that sweet spot.
And when you think about it, if 7 of 10, if all of those vendors have their own partner portal, their own tools, then
Yeah,
it get there's so many logins, it gets really complicated to navigate it as well.
100%.
Um, Jason, let's talk to MSPs directly here. To everyone who's listening. Let's say an MSP is just starting to build out a cybersecurity offering. What's your blueprint? How would you guide them? What are the advice that you would give to them at this point?
So one of the things about dealing with us, we try to make it as easy as possible to do business with us, right? So I would recommend to them, you know, get with your account rep and get set up in the secure cloud platform. Okay.
Mhm.
Because with all of our products, we've got free NFRs, we've got no minimums, no contracts, no credit card fees. So you can literally get in there and dip your toe in the dozens of products that we have. I mean, we've got something to cover you left, center, right, a boom. We've got a tool for just about every cybersecurity threat vector. So get in there, play with it, download the products, and then our support and implementation team is there to help you navigate that and figure it out as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how do you feel like an early MSP, should they be really thinking about like how they're going to differentiate themselves? Because I feel like that's one of a lot of MSPs, they get stuck in that 2 million ARR space and it's really hard to scale about that. Do you feel like how do they get to that scale and differentiation? What would you advise them?
You're not going to get there selling seats, right? Let's just face it. Maybe 10 years ago, you could have accelerated that way, but your stack is your stack. And it may be a little bit different of a mix than the next guy and the other guy, but your stack is your stack. And to be honest, the customer doesn't really care what your stack is, right? Someone's buying a car, they don't care where the car seats came from. They don't care where the seat belts came from. They just want a car that's safe and reliable. So the real accelerator for growth going forward is going to be professional and managed services, whether that's managed cybersecurity, AI deployments, helping customers do integrations and automations and things like that. The managed services and professional services are going to be where the growth and the margin is going to be.
And I think that really ties back to when we start the conversation. It's going to be that what you call MSP 3.0.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for the conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us,
Absolutely.
and see you in the next episode.
All right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.